Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Shadow Wraith, and today I'm going to be going over my top 3 picks for low point evil army lists. So, factions that perform particularly well in low points games, and by low points I mean 500 or less. Okay, and yeah, this is my opinion obviously, and in my opinion mixed with a lot of other people's opinion that I've seen. But I thought I'd make a video on it because it was quite interesting, plus I did the good guys. So, first things first, we're going to jump straight in to our number 3 slot, which is Azog's Hunters. Now, Azog's Hunters are really fantastic at lower point events because, well, for your relatively cheap Hunter Orcs, they are 8 points a model. You've got Strength 4, which is very important, trust me, because as soon as you start getting into the Strength 7, Defense 7, Defense 8 category, you're still wounding on 6s whilst everyone else is starting to wound on 6s by 4s. So yeah, it's rather scary. Plus Defense 6, you're wounding on 5s rather than 6s compared to Strength 3. Okay, and Defense 6 is much more common. Your infantry is pretty much all 2 attacks. So all your Hunter Orcs, 8 points a model, they have 2 attacks, which is the many blade special rule. And they have to be infantry, so not when they're mounted. Of course, the army bonus is pretty good because they strike in the wee small hours when everyone's asleep. The Azog Hunters army list may include 50% bows rather than 33%. Additionally, all models in Azog's Hunters army list have +1 to their shoot value. So instead of being shoot value 5+, you're now 4+, which is really good for orcs. Really good. Okay. Now, yeah, there's some ways of playing these, and I'll just go over the rest of this, and then I'll talk about how to play them. You've got 2 of the best anti-heroes in the game. So anti-heroes, good at killing heroes, plus Bolg is especially good at killing regular troops as well. Now, we'll talk about Azog first, because he's the big bad evil. He's 160 points, he's a hero of legend, and of course you're going to want to stick him on the White Warg for an extra 50 points. Yeah, he's Fight 7, which is phenomenal, absolutely insane. He's 5+ shoot value, but we don't care about that because you can't even take a bow on him. He's Strength 5, which is brutal, Defense 5, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, Courage 5. He's got 3 might, 3 will, 1 fate, and he comes with a sword and a mace. So you can either stab, you're not going to be stabbing anything unless you're fighting like Sauron or something, so you're going to be fainting, or I think you can bash with a mace. That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Which means you can stun them next turn, making them fight value 1 and stuff, which is really useful as well. You've got Heroic March, Heroic Strike, Strength and Challenge. So Strike obviously is fantastic and March is fantastic. You can give them the Signal Tower for 200 points, but you're not going to be doing that at low points. And the White Warg 50 points, Stone Flail for 20 points, Heavy Armor for 10. The only 2 upgrades I suggest giving him is the White Warg and the Heavy Armor. Okay, the Stone Flail is okay. It's a 2-handed weapon, so you'll kick in your Burly special rule. But 20 points is quite steep. But you can strike everyone in the combat with his Whirl special attack, but you're reduced to fight 6, so that can be fantastic. If you really want to put all your points into Azog, go for it. I'm not going to stop you because it's absolutely brutal against heroes, because it doesn't cause 1 wound but D3, so you can one-shot heroes, or multiple heroes, if you're lucky. You've got General of the North, so you've got 12-inch standfast, and you can affect other orc heroes, and he always wounds other hero models on a 3+ regardless of their defense, which is why he's so deadly against heroes. And yeah, it's not. I'm not sure if the Burly gives you the +1 to wound, so you'd be wounding on 2s against heroes. Because Aragon, it specifically states it. Oh well, if you can, fantastic. Now, that's quite a lot, but I'll tell you what the Warg does. He is Fight 5, Strength 5, Defense 5, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, Courage 4. Not only do you get the cavalry bonuses, knock to the ground, +1 attack, so you're rocking in with 4 attacks, 8 attacks when you strike them. You also nick the Warg's Might, which is you get an extra 3 might, 1 will, 1 fate. So that's essentially putting you up to 6 might, because you can use each other's mights. What's that? 4 will, I would say. Yeah, 4 will and 2 fate, which is fantastic. One word of advice, always spend the Warg's Might before you spend Azog's, just in case it gets dismounted. The Warg never runs away if Azog gets dismounted, but you can only use heroic actions that affect other Warg models, so if you bring in Wargs, fantastic. And he automatically passes all courage tests, so that's really good. Now, he's got Felsight and Terror, so Felsight lets you charge around buildings even if you don't have line of sight to them, and causes Terror, which makes Azog even harder to charge. That's, pretty impressive stat line. Now, Bolg, of course, 165 points. He is Fight 7 also, Strength 5, it's crazy. Defense 7, which is really good. 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 5, 3 might, 3 or 1 fate. He comes with heavy armor and a 2-handed pick, and he does have burly, so your strength 5 plus 1 to wound. Give him a Felward for 10 points, just to take the cav bonus, which makes him an absolute beat stick when he charges in. And an Orc Bow, because why not? He's got the Morgul arrows, which basically is if you cause a wound, but you don't slay the model, at the start of each turn, you have to roll a dice for that model. On a 1, they suffer an additional wound, which can be quite scary if you do get a sneaky wound on their leader, or a troll, or an eagle, etc, etc. Bringer of Death, he upgrades depending on how many kills he has. So if you kill two or more enemies, you cause Terror. If you kill 5 or more, you've got Harbinger of Evil, which is 12-inch aura of -1 courage. And once he's killed 10 or more, you've got Mighty Hero, which means you unlock unlimited might. I've never got Bolg to that many, but it can be done. It can be done, absolutely. That's pretty scary. Pretty scary. I'm not too. Now, you've got some cheap heroes if you don't want to bring either of them to, but you're going to be wanting to bring one of them at least. You've got Yazneg, 45 points. He's okay. He's got 3 might, which is fantastic, and that's what you're bringing him for. You can cut his head off if you've got Azog in the same list to auto pass everyone. Within his, like, as if it was a standfast. So yeah, that's pretty good. You can just auto pass it if you want, but I don't see why you would. It's not really worth it most of the time. You got Narzog for 50 points, who's also got 3 might. Okay, and yeah, they're all shoot value 3+ for Narzog, and Yazneg's got a 4+ shoot value. And Yazneg doesn't even have a bow, but you want to give them Wargs if you can for 10 points, and a Lance, why not? Because Yazneg's got he's modelled with a Lance, so you might as well give him one for the +1 to wound, which is another reason why I wouldn't cut his head off. What has Narzog got? Well, he's got more arrows, which I've already explained, and he's got lethal aim, which basically gives you a 3 point of might to either modify the hit roll, in the way roll, or wound roll when shooting his Orc Bow. Nice, I do like that. Okay, I've mentioned the Hunter Orcs, so if you give them Wargs, you're losing an attack, but you've got maneuverability, which is very key for grabbing objectives, countering enemy charges with Cav, and other shenanigans like that. You've got fantastic might with Azog, because he brings 6, which is why Azog usually wins out on this. He's got so many special rules, he's got so much might, he's just a terror to take down. Yeah, you have the option for Felwargs if you want cheaper points and not stick your guys on Cav, because of course it costs 8 points for a Felwarg to be mounted on one, or you can just bring them alongside, so you keep your two attacks, okay, at strength 4, and you've still got maneuverability. Costs exactly the same points. But of course you don't get the knock to the ground bonus, which is kind of null and void unless you win the fight, because you'll get 2 attacks if you charge in. You've got Fimbul the Hunter, just wanted to mention him quick, 50 points. Huntmaster, when he's mounted, he ignores penalties suffered by cavalry models attempting a difficult terrain. So yeah, that's cool. And he's got Expert Rider, quite nice. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can spam troops. 8 points is not bad for 2 attack strength 4 models. You can give them 2-handed picks, so they've got 2 attacks with 2-handed picks. They can be very scary. And of course you want to bring a banner in your list. Now, moving on before I keep talking about Azog's hunters. Oh, last thing, I promise. You can be rather cheeky with this and bring Azog from, this is probably the best way to do it, Azog from the Azog's Legion list, okay? Which means you probably won't be bringing anyone into the fight unless you bring in allies. But if you don't want to bring allies, I mean, I suggest you do, because you can bring orcs that are with spears, so you can end up having 3 attacks if you support one of your infantry hunter orcs, but you get Master of Battle rather than the bow limit special rule, so for Azog only. And then you can bring either captains or some of the special characters I've just named to bring in hunter orcs. One last little shenanigan you can be running is bringing in one of the hunter orc captains, but bring him under the Dark Powers of Dol Guldur list, or you can bring something from Dol Guldur, but this is cheap points, we want just a captain, Billy Bob, and you can bring a Mirkwood Spider or 2 with you, which is kind of scary. Okay, that's another little thing, and you can do that with all 3 of them because all green allies, so happy days. Anyway, moving on, we have got the number 2 slot, and that goes to one of my favourite factions actually, Corsairs of Umbar. Now, I personally do run this army quite a lot, and I absolutely love them. Now, biggest standouts are their Fight 4. You've got access to attack infantry through the Reavers. Everyone's got thrown weapons, pretty much. I think only like very few people. I think the Reavers are like the only ones that don't. And you've got access to crossbows or the Arbalistas. So crossbows are very scary, being strength 4, but you can't move and shoot them. But you do have your big shield, the Pavis, I think it's called. Which basically gives you +3 to your defense when you're being shot at and you're not engaged in combat, which brings your defense up to 6, which is very good. It stops them from being shot. Now, we've got fantastic heroes. Okay, so speaking of fantastic heroes, we have got Dalamar for 90 points, and he's a hero of legend, which is a steal. Okay, he's fight 5, he's strength 4, defense 4, 3 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 4, 2 might, 2 will, 3 fate. Okay, this guy, he wants to hang around. He's got smoke bombs, which are fantastic. So it counts as a thrown weapon at strength 1. All you want to do is hit. So you hit on a 3+. If you hit, the enemy that you hit suffer the effects of the channeled version of Transfix, which is extremely scary. You can literally guarantee winning against trolls, eagles, things like that. If you have will, however, they can spend a point of will to ignore this effect, but it's still reducing the hero's will, which is still really good. It's 1 less will because you can throw it in as you go in. Now, he comes with Heroic Strike and Heroic Defense, my 2 favourite. He's got Bane of King, so he's re-rolling all failed wound rolls, and he's got Stalk Unseen, so you can hide him, and he's going to be your leader because he's a hero of legend. He's got Preternatural Agility, so he can never be trapped while standing. Very good, very good. We've got the captains, basic captains, okay? They're essential. They bring March to the table. Then we've got the Bosun, which is by far the better option in my opinion. Because, I mean, they're both heroes of fortitude. The Bosun is 5 points cheaper. And he's got March as well. On top of that, he's got Commanding Bellow. So friendly Corsair models within 3 inches of the Corsair Bosun count as being in range of a banner. So you don't have any banners to bring, but you've got counts in range of. So why would you bring a guy 5 points more expensive? I'm not sure. Is he higher fight? Yeah, he's 1 point higher fight. He's same amount of attack, same amount of defense, strength, wounds, courage, and he's got 1 extra point of might. Yeah, it's up to you. I'd take the banner over the 2. You can give him a bow, a crossbow, a shield, 2-handed axe, or a spear. I usually give my guys a crossbow and a spear because I usually run 2 of them. So they're very good for the banner reroll, and you need them for the Reavers. Okay. Need them for the Reavers. Yeah, talking about Reavers. Okay. Oh, one more hero. So you have got Delgamar, who is fantastic because he's got a similar rule to the Bosun, and it's not the same rule. Okay, they just get to reroll 1 dual dice within 3 inches of him. So if you've got multiple attacks and you're in range of both a Bosun and Delgamar, you get to reroll 2 dice, which makes him absolutely phenomenal. Plus he's got 3 might. So, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. He's relatively cheap as well. So, yeah. I'd definitely suggest bringing the 2. Okay, so, to the Reavers. Now, Reavers are 9 points a model, which is relatively cheap for what they can do. So, they're Fight 4, which is fantastic like everyone. They're Strength 3. And they've got Defense 3, which is pretty naff. They've got 2 attacks, which makes them phenomenal. They're 1 wound and they're Courage 4. They come with 2 swords and they've got the Mindless Killers special rule. Now, to sum it up, basically, if any Corsair Reaver starts its move at least 6 inches away from a friendly Corsair bosun, they must take a courage test. If they fail it, they gain +1 to wound, okay, and must charge the nearest enemy model. If 2 or more models are equal difference away, you just, you randomize it, whatever. And the problem is, if you fail this test and there's no enemy models within range, they will charge the nearest friendly model. And you can imagine why that's not good with +1 to wound. But if you are within the range of a bosun, you can automatically pass or automatically fail. So that's very important to have Corsair bosuns. Very, very important. With this stacked on with your army bonus, which is your whole army with the Corsair keyword, has the Backstabber special rule. You're +1 to wound if you trap an enemy. You've got enough bods to trap enemies. If you trap anyone and there's a Reaver in, they're +2 to wound. They'll never need to roll more than a 4 to wound anything. It might be a 4 followed by a 2, but they'll never need any more. These guys have killed more big things than I can count. They've killed Sauron, they've killed the Balrog, they've even killed Smaug. So they're very, very scary and very, very effective. So they're definitely worth bringing. Also, having all your Corsairs of Umbar, having +1 to wound on trapped models, is very scary. Yeah, very, very scary. Of course, Corsairs of Umbar are pretty trash because they're only defense 3, fight 3, but strength 3, fight 4. But they all come with thrown weapons, which means you can throw into combats where you don't want to be in combat and negate heroic combats by killing your own guy in that combat. You can also bring a bow. I've never brought a bow really with these. I bring arbalisters instead. But shields. Shields are important, okay? Because they go up to defense 4, so strength 3 models aren't wounding your guys on 4s, they're wounding them on 5s. So it's definitely worth bringing. One more honourable mention is the Knight of Umbar, who you can bring. And he's got his fantastic combat mimicry rule, where he can copy the amount of attacks, the strength and the fight value of whoever they're in combat with for 1 will point, which makes him very good at fighting things like the Balrog. So you don't need to strike, essentially. It's a free whatever you need to strike up to. So it's very good against things like Balrogs. And Trolls as well, because they can't also win. So he's worth a mention. Plus it'll bring magic to your list. Magic's expensive, but we're trying to keep it cheap. So you might not want to bring him in this. Moving on, okay? We've got our last entry, which is number 1. And, I mean, if you couldn't guess it, yeah, it's Goblin Town. Now, Goblin Town, pretty easy to sum up. Okay, their troops are 4 points a model. Yeah, they can all support each other. You can pick what hand weapon they have, picks or knives. Okay, some of them got flails as well. Oh, clubs or... Yeah, there's a whole variety of weapons they have. It's just a hand weapon. Give them hand weapons. I tend to give mine a mixture between swords/daggers and picks or axes. To have access to piercing strike to up their strength, +1. Because they're already defense 3, so going down D3 defense is okay. Whatever. And stabbing is essential sometimes as well to get the reroll 1s to wound. So yeah. They have a fantastic leader, which is the Goblin King. He is a monster, literally. He counts as a monster. He can hurl goblins. He only hits on 5s, and he kills a goblin. But it's strength 8, 12-inch range. So if you hit, you're hitting like a truck. Okay. He is also very strong in combat because he's got a 2-handed pick, so you can up your strength even more. And there's a bit of a nasty combo where you can heroic strength and then rend because you're a monster. But yeah, essentially he's fight 6, so he's on par with other big heroes. He's strength 5, defense 5, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 3. Biggest downside to this army, courage. Everyone's like courage 2 or 3. He's got 3 might, 2 will, 1 fate. Don't let the 1 fate put you off. 2-handed pick, like I said. He's got strike, strength and challenge. I use strike and strength. He's burly, cave dweller, resistant to magic, which is fantastic for stopping him from being shut down. And he causes terror, because he's a big, scary, fat goblin. He's got relentless advance, which basically means you can run over your own goblins, giving them a strength 3 hit. And if you land on top of a goblin, you kill him. So there's no way of blocking yourself in for like a heroic move or anything like that. Blubbery Mass, this is why he's so tanky. You've got a 3+ shrug against any wound that is not magical, like a magical power, or an elven-made weapon. It's insane. Okay, trust me. I've had Dane pound away at this guy. I've had not Legolas. What's his name? Theoden's had a go. Aemond's had a go. Durin, yeah, and they haven't managed to kill him. And of course, he could throw a goblin. Yeah, so crazy. In regards to other heroes that I just want to mention, and this goes into the good combos, is of course you've got Grinner, who is 40 points cheap as chips for 3 might as well. 1 will, 1 fate. He's fight 3, strength 4, defense 4, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 3. He comes with a dagger and a scourge. A scourge is a 2-inch range thrown weapon at strength 2. Cool. And he comes with strike, so that's quite useful. He's got Cave Dweller and Chittering Horde, so he can support or be supported by other models with this rule, which is pretty much every goblin. And he's got the Swap With Me special ability. So the Swap With Me is a heroic action that you can call in any phase. It enables him to swap with any friendly goblin model except the goblin scribe within 3 inches. It doesn't count as moving, but if there's no room to place the model you swap with, you have to choose another one or you've wasted the heroic action. I just want to mention the Goblin King is a goblin, so you can swap with him. Okay? You can, yeah. And the reason this is so strong is you can get it when your enemy finally gets him trapped. And he's got Strider in there with his elven-made weapon. He's going to strike up probably higher than you. You're trapped. You can have Grinner nearby and just go, I'm going to call Swap With Me. And they get to pound away at Grinner. And then Goblin King's like, sorry lads, I got out of it. That is massive. Absolutely massive. Okay? Yeah. You can just get him out of all sorts of sticky situations. It's really scary. Really, really scary. You don't even need to do it in the combat phase, you know? You can do it at any phase. Yeah. So, the other combo is Gollum. I always bring Gollum. 35 points for this bad boy. And the reason he's good is because he's got one thing. He's got Heroic March, actually, for 1 might. He's only got 1 might. But he's got the ring, okay? And now, the ring is so important because I've used it against the Balrog, I've used it against Gil-galad. Who else? Quite a few other big name heroes. Dane as well. And the first time you put the ring on, you don't have to have a 50-50, well, nearly 50-50 roll to see if you get to move your own model. But if you charge into that model with Gollum, you halve the enemy's fight value. And then the Goblin King goes in, who's fight 6, so no matter what fight value your opponent is, you're higher now. You manage to trap that model, which is very easy with Goblin Town with the amount of models you've got. It's game over. Even the Balrog died to this combo. I whacked Gollum in there. Lucky enough, he passed his courage test of courage 4. Same with the Goblin King, passed his courage test, and I had enough goblins around him that passed courage test just to trap him. And yeah, you just go to town, and with your +1 to wound, double strike, 6 strikes with him, as many goblins as you get, piercing, striking. It's, yeah, such a brutal combo. Of course, you can have your army bonus, which is you increase every warband size by 6 inches, so you don't need to spend too many points on heroes. Because, I mean, the Goblin Captains are only like 35 points, I believe. They're cheap as chips. 35 points? Oh, yeah, look at that. 35 points. And they come with a armour, sword, or a pick, so they're slightly high defence. 2 might, 1 will, 1 fate, standard captain, Heroic March. And Heroic March wins with this army. You want March everywhere. You want your captains. Yeah, you definitely want your captains. Because it negates the 5-inch move you've got, lack of cavalry. And it enables the traps to sweep around the enemy's flanks and to grab objectives. So it's very, very important. Yeah. I have mentioned the free supporting, and the last thing is you get free troops. You bring the Goblin Scribe, 50 points. You got no might, you got 1 will, 1 fate. But literally, there's no point talking to his stats. They're all 1s and 2s, apart from courage, which is courage 3. Okay? If he's in combat, he also loses. Okay? And his counter's trapped. Yeah. You can pick him up in the move phase with friendly models, and he counts as a heavy object, so you can move him about if you really want to. But I just sit him in the corner of the battlefield if I can, surrounded by a little guard of goblins. And he's there to always use his special rule, always more where they came from. So you roll a courage test, and you get D3 extra goblin warriors if you pass it, +1 for each point you pass the test by. So if you roll double 6, you pass the test by 1. A lot, quite a lot. Okay, what's that? 5 plus D3, if my maths is right. Yeah. And you do that every turn. And that's fantastic for Storm the Camp, to pressure the camp straight away. That's really good for grabbing objectives near the board edge. That's good for maybe sneaking around and stopping siege engines, which I've used it for. I've used it for Storm the Camp, I've used it for siege engines, I've used it for capturing objectives, and I've used it just as extra models, because why not? So, yeah. Fantastic. I love Goblin Town. Anyway, let me know what you think of these lists. Have you tried any? Have you fought any? Have I missed any? And do you agree with them or disagree with them? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, do consider liking the video because it helps me out a massive bunch. And do consider subscribing. So close to 1,000. It'd be fantastic if you're one of them. But even if you don't, I still hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.